Here's your host, Lloyd Shoemaker, with Coach Grasso.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm Lloyd Shoemaker, your host, and sitting next to me is the star of the show, and that's our head basketball coach for the boys here at Piqua High School. Coach Grasso, thanks for taking your time. I know you're a pretty busy guy right now trying to teach, coach, and teach, and at the same time win some more ball games. Currently, your record is 3-8, I think is the correct number. Heck of a ball game last night. That's West Carrollton leading the Valley Division, and I believe Tips leading the other division in Miami Valley League, and you've taken both of those guys down to the wire in the last 3 games. Yeah,
we're able to compete with anybody in our league in any given night, and that's the one thing we really like about this team is it's always going to fight hard, and regardless of who we're playing, we're going to be in a competitive game, so we have to make sure we bring the great energy to the court, because it could go either direction. If we don't bring the right energy, it could be a team that no one would expect us to play with. It can go in either way.
Yeah.
So
and you're outsized on just about everybody you play. I haven't seen all the other teams, but the teams I have watched play Xenia. For one, I'm trying to think of a couple others. I've been able to get to the games, but they always seem to have so much more size than you do. But when it comes to bulk inside, Lewis does a heck of a job for a guy 6'1" against those 6'4", 6'5" guys. I think he frustrates him more than anything else. And Lyons he just bodies him.
yeah. Those Jarrell's done a tremendous job, and it showed in his football season too. And he's carried it over to basketball that he took very seriously his nutrition and fitness, and dropped the bad weight that he was carrying, and it helps him move so much. And so when he gets those matchups on the bigger guys, he can maneuver around them a little bit, and as you said, that frustrates him. And then on the flip side of that is he still has his strength, so he can kind of move them away from where they want to be on offense sometimes too. So that makes a difference.
I honest to gosh did not recognize him when I came to the gym the first time and saw him, and I thought, now wait a minute, it's got the right hairdo, it looks like him. What happened? Yeah. And I talked to him a little bit, and he just said, I got busy on my body.
Yeah.
He kind of, the way he's playing in there kind of reminds me of the way Smeezing played.
Yeah.
At 6'1", playing in that post position in there, his same strength, same quickness.
Yeah. That definitely, it's really, really happy for Jarrell to make such a commitment and see the payoff. It's awesome.
Now he's getting ready for the next level in Division I football too, and he's going to have an impact there and come out of that with, I think, is going to be a great education for him.
Absolutely.
And not only where he's going to school, but what he's going to get out of that school.
Yeah.
At Fordham is going to be just tremendous. I mentioned 3-8 on the season. You got one team off your bucket list. You beat Sydney.
Yeah.
And that's the last team I think that you haven't beaten, isn't it?
That's correct. So we've gone through since I've been the head coach. That was the one team that we weren't able to beat. Now, granted, they've had some really exceptional players over those years, and but we've been close with them several times, even during those times. And this was the first time we got them this year, and then the second time around, it was a tight game, back and forth, and we went into one of our little offensive lulls, and they took a little bit of an advantage, and that's just kind of how the game rode out. So, but yeah, we got that one, and we're beginning now to cycle back through the rest of the conference games. So.
Well, and your other 2 wins is Greenville and Xenia. You beat Xenia the first time you played them, and everybody's beating Greenville. They've actually won 2 games. I didn't realize that they've won 2 games. I can't imagine.
Yeah, Greenville they play very hard. They have, you mentioned our general height disadvantage. They have some height and length, and it makes it difficult for teams that have smaller guys on the interior to get shots up. And so we played real well that game, and we were able to kind of use our advantages on the perimeter and force them to speed up and create some turnovers to score easy buckets. So that was a good one.
My brain's running in 3 different directions here. I want to talk about what we talked about in the preseason was that you're loaded with guards. You know, again, we're talking about the height, but you got 5, 6 guys that can be out there in guard position, and you've got maybe 3 or 4 guys that can be underneath. How is this whole situation with the virus affecting you, and that, and the fact that you're playing the same teams over and over and over? There's nothing new.
Yeah, very unique season. We've had. It seems like we started the season down a few guys. We get them back, start getting a little bit of a groove, and then we actually got to the point where we had our whole team together for one game, which was the Xenia win before Christmas, and then that next day after that we got the call that they had someone on their team that had tested positive, so we had to shut down at that point and go on a 2-week hiatus, which canceled some games and obviously practice. And then, so when we were able to come back, we were starting. Tanner Kemp had worked his way into the lineup, and then he was out for another week due to a contact situation after that. So, we're just kind of constantly rotating and doing what we can and making the most out of it. I remind myself and remind the boys, the alternative is we could have not been playing at all. So we need to be grateful for being here. So
it's like getting into the gym and just sit there on the bench and see who shows up.
Yeah.
And then start your 5 guys.
Yeah. So, our next game is the team that's been hit the hardest in our league, Stebbins. They've only played 2 games. They were at the very beginning of the year, in the first week of December, and they haven't even played, or they've been on an out of school team quarantine and school quarantine. They haven't been in person. Their first day back was yesterday, so we'll be coming. They're coming to us tomorrow for their first game in over a month, and let alone a game, they haven't even practiced. They haven't been able to practice. So,
well, they had some real challenges during football season too.
Yeah.
They just did not seem to have the control that needed to be put in place. And
we'll have to see. We'll see what happens. Now that said, I mean, they're basketball-wise, it's a good team. They have last year. I think they were 17-5 or 17-6, and they returned nearly everybody from that team. So it's regardless of whether or not they're coming in with things that have led up to this point, we got to be ready to go, because it's another good team that's on our schedule. Like we said, we're not getting the benefit this year of our out of conference games, where we generally schedule games where we'd have a chance to win. That's kind of what you want to do in your out of conference. And we don't get them this year, so we got to just keep on playing who we're able to play and who pops up on the schedule.
Well, when I was printing off the schedule for the rest of the year, Saturday the 13th of February, you got Tecumseh.
We do get one. The league decided for one game, and that was the only one that of the 4 that we had scheduled that we could match up a night. So that's what we ended up with.
Okay.
So.
Well, let's talk about your players a little bit. Who surprised you the most so far?
Surprised the most, it's really interesting because this team, there's not. Drayshawn Roberts is kind of he is a statistical leader, and he's a pass first guy that is scoring, because one of the things that we continue to try to improve upon is our individual, and then it becomes team, collective field goal percentages and getting the ball consistently in the basket. Dre's been able to do that, and so he's leading us in scoring, which is awesome. But I know at heart he's a pass first guy. He wants to get the ball to his other teammates and get them going.
That gets him going too. I mean, you watch him pass the ball. He doesn't pass and watch. He doesn't take a ticket and sit down.
Yeah.
He moves. He moves through the defense. He comes back around the other side, and sometimes he gets open to take that left-hand 3 shot.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of guys that have surprised, but I'm not surprised at the way that we do play. Everybody sort of plays to their strengths. We don't necessarily have anybody that's going out on a limb and doing things that they shouldn't be doing. I mean, I guess I would say if there was one just pleasant surprise of the year. We already mentioned it's just the way that Jarrell has been able to transform his body and move more, because as a basketball player last year, it was difficult for him to stay in the game for more than 2 or 3 minutes without, bumping into somebody and picking up 2 fouls or just being out of wind.
Yeah.
And he's able to play, the entire game with a sub here and there, but he's just in so much better shape that he can play. So
the Seaver kid has not been able to get to the basket like he did last year, and I don't know if something's changed in him mentally about doing that, because I've seen opportunities in games when he almost like he didn't even look to see if he could get to the basket. He was anticipating the pass before he was looking to score. And he's used to getting underneath there with that left-handed, going under the basket, putting that up with his left hand.
He's had some good nights where he's been able to, to get there, but he's such a hard worker and such a cerebral person and player.
Yes.
That, if the first one and second one don't go down, then he starts thinking, okay, well now, I'm having an off night, and I'm always encouraging him, to stay positive, focus on the things that are going on, and just reminding him, because he wants so badly to help his team.
Yes.
That
you can tell that.
he almost sometimes he goes at faster than he should, or quicker than he should to be, and it gets himself into a disadvantage as opposed to using it to an advantage. So we always kind of calm down, slow down. We got this. It's okay.
Yeah.
And just reminding him, because it's not from a lack of trying or effort. He's plays as hard as anybody I've ever coached.
Yeah, he does. We talked about him last year, and the fact that he hustles every place. He hustles on the floor. He hustles off the floor.
Yep.
At halftime, he hustles to the locker room.
Yep.
I don't think he knows how to walk.
Yeah.
I really don't think he taught him how to walk. Everything was running for him.
And you love to have a guy like that on your team.
Oh,
That's a great example for everybody else.
And Tanner is. Has he lost a little size in him? Isn't he a little smaller this year?
Well, that's just mentioning, the time off and things like that. Probably hasn't had the opportunity too much to get, to get back here, and even in school, because when you're on the quarantine times, you're out of school as well, and you're doing virtual school. So, all of our guys train in the weight room in a weight class with Coach Neese, and so if he's out of school, he can't come in and lift.
That's true.
You see the effects of those things. That's a byproduct of us, having those times away and things like that. As mentioned, he really kind of got in the groove, got it going, and then we had the time away, and then his was extended, and so we're hoping to get him back on the right track as well.
How many of your guys did you get in last night? I noticed one thing. I noticed that Bryson's down playing some JV ball right now. Is that to get him playing time, get his ankle fixed, or you didn't make any threes last night?
All the above. We started off early in the year looking for him to be a backup guard, come in and be if Dre needs a blower. They play pretty well together.
Mm-hmm.
They're cousins, and they've played a lot of ball together in the past. So he actually started off being a bench player for the varsity, and then we noticed he wasn't getting quite as many opportunities. And as a sophomore, you want to get those guys on the floor as much as possible. So we get him some JV time, and then he rolled his ankle, and so working his way back. And I think we saw this week the JV had a big win over West Carrollton, and he played an exceptional game there. And then he got back some of the confidence and belief in himself that he could do this. And he was a nice bench player for us last night. Had a couple buckets. For whatever reason, the threes, regarding threes, it's not just him. It's like the pandemic within a pandemic. We shoot, and they're not. We've got to the point where we don't really take a lot of contested ones or bad ones. They just don't fall. So we make a concerted effort going, from last night and going forward. We started off the game last night shooting 3 of them in a row, and I called a timeout and said, listen, it's not going to give us a chance. We got to get the ball inside, and we only shot 5 for the rest of the game. And there's times when it comes inside and back out. Those are the ones that they're good shots. But when you pass around the perimeter 3-4 times and jack one, that's a recipe for a disaster. So, not just Bryson, but everybody else. We'll keep on fighting and working in practice, and they'll start falling for us.
You got to. If you're open, you got to put them up.
Yeah.
But you don't want to turn into like the Seaver and get so cerebral about it that you say, well, if they're not going to win, so I might as well not shoot it.
Right.
0 for 9 last night's what they showed on the records, and 20% for the year.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's not from a lack of work and effort, because we shoot a lot in practice. We work at game speed, and then we really focus now. So there are some games. There's a direct correlation of our games, the ones that are the most competitive, that we shoot the least amount, to where a game where it gets away from us a little bit, like our previous game between the Tip City and the game last night at West Carrollton and Xenia, where we had, and granted that was the end of a 5-game and 7-day stretch. I think everybody's legs were down, and at any rate, we shot 20-some and made 4 or 5, and it's just a bad percentage. And the shots are around the perimeter and shoot, and it doesn't go inside. The defense doesn't have to move. So we just really focus on with threes. We'll take them when they come, but is it really the best shot for this? And normally our best shot, the strengths of our team, is with Dre attacking the rim, with getting it to Jarrell and letting him work down there. Even Big Lions, his touch has really improved, and he's starting to get some buckets. And Garrett around the rim, So those are the ones that we really want to get first, and even Devin, when he gets down there going to the left. I mean,
he gets up pretty good for his size.
Yeah, so and then once the defense collapses in, you get those ones from the outside maybe, and they'll be in rhythm, and so.
Well, the other percentages I look at always 55% on free throws. That's not acceptable. 39% from 2 points.
Yeah, that's like we said. I mean, we're able to compete, and that's what I mentioned. We can compete with the best of them, but with the percentages that we shoot, we can also compete with the ones that you wouldn't expect too. Because if it's really not going in on one of the, But that said, as you'll see progressively here, it's going up. So. It's improving as we go, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we got everybody back now, and we'll have a good solid 3 and 4 weeks of practice in games here towards the end on the stretch run, because I feel like our record is really not indicative of the caliber of team we have. If once we get into that real groove of being able to understand, okay, we are just not the 3-point team. We need to get the ball to the rim. We need to score inside, and just like last night, I mean, we're 0 3-point field goals, but we play at what are they, 10-3 team to a 2-point game. So we don't necessarily need them. It would be nice to get a couple. Yeah,
but you were if I remember right, you were up like 9-10 points at the end of the third quarter. Something like that, and then you got smoked in the fourth quarter.
A couple of a couple of turnovers that they turned in. Actually, if I look at both team stats, and they were perfect from the field in the free throw line in the fourth quarter. So you got to give their kids credit for making shots in the clutch. And we weren't terrible. I think it was 5 for 10 or something, 50%. You can accept that as a field goal percentage. But they made all their shots. We missed a couple, and they made a couple of key plays. And really, that's when you get into these games and you're competitive. Those are going to be the difference. It's a couple of plays here and there, and then you go back and look at the free throw percentage and see it was 11 for 20, and then you say, well, they don't win all the games, but they win the close ones for sure. Mm-hmm. So we'll keep on working and keep on grinding on them.
Well, you've got 10 games to go yet?
Yeah, so that's it feels like we're in the fourth month of the season, but we're schedule-wise we're only halfway. So we have. A lot of great things ahead of us to accomplish potentially.
I was reading someplace this morning that the Ohio High School Athletic Association is moving forward with the basketball tournament as they normally do, except they're not going to have any games at Ohio State.
I didn't hear about that, but yeah, they're probably just going to play them
around the state,
and keep them, with the limitations of fans and things like that.
Yeah, so they want to keep people out of Buckeye Land.
Yeah, they have some small venues that are really exceptional places for sectional tournaments and district tournaments and stuff. And you know, we host one here for the D4, and they pack the house on a regular year.
Yeah.
You know, and those are fun. You know, I've been a part of some really successful ones in the past, and when you go deep in the tournament, it's a fun feeling. So
yeah. And I know you're trying to protect your kids as much as possible from any contact with anybody outside of your program circle. But I'll tell you, you know, having sat in the stands for the first time for a long time, the Indians are restless. The fans up there are restless. The fact that we're 3-8.
Yeah.
You know, they see you playing good for 3.5 quarters, but you know they're just shaking their head, saying, "What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us?" And I don't know if you're hearing it across the court, but there's just a lot of conversation going on there. How do you handle that as a head coach? I don't know if I could.
Sure. As we talk a lot. There's something that actually was brought to my attention as the Indiana football coach, Tom Allen, who's done a tremendous job. If you follow, you know, me being an Ohio State alum, I follow the Big Ten and football. Indiana for years is not a football powerhouse by any stretch, but this last couple of years they've been really good, and they played Ohio State to a close game this year. But he has a saying: it's earmuffs and blinders, meaning we're not listening. Our eyes are on one focus. So as a team, we have our jobs to do within the circle. We got the earmuffs on, we got our blinders on, and we're going to keep working amongst ourselves to get things done.
Yeah. Well, it's not an easy thing to do, and we thank you for doing that, because somebody has to get it done. Yeah. Our next game is coming up.
Tomorrow is homecoming here for there's no dance or anything, but they have the court, and we're excited. We have some of our guys are on homecoming court, so it's a fun thing for them to be a part of that and associated with it. And as mentioned, it's Stebbins' team who returns a lot of good players from their previous team, and they've gone through some hardships. And the other thing I tell our guys is, nobody feels sorry for you that this is your record or this happened to you. It's not what happens, it's how you respond. So we got to be ready to go that we're not accepting a moral victory for playing West Carrollton to a 2-point game. We need to put up the W's, and they know, and we're all on the same page. We're all pushing in the same direction.
Can Tip City go undefeated? Are they good?
In this league, they can. They can really shoot it. They have the best player in the league, hands down. I think he is averaging a triple-double. They got 4 or 5 guys that shoot a really high clip from 3. As a team, I think they're in the 40s from 3, and I think once they have a good chance to make a little noise in the Division II ranks. But then depending upon who's playing, I haven't even paid much attention to it. But the D2 sectional in Dayton is tough. So you got Trotwood in there. I don't know if they're playing or not. I haven't paid much attention. But you got all the Dayton Public, and I don't know if so it could be a year where those guys are out and things are going to open up for them. You never know. Yeah. But you got Alter, and then you run into the Cincinnati Catholic schools in the D2. So that's the life. It's not any different in D1 either. If they were in D1, you got Centerville and Springfield and Wayne and Kettering, and so down the list.
It almost doesn't seem fair that you have a team like Tip City or teams up this way that don't have the volume of students that the other D2s have to choose from, and ended up with the basketball teams that always end up going to the tops in the tournaments.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, you'll see year in and year out, there'll be teams from the Dayton area that are making noise throughout the entire state. There's no doubt about it. It's good basketball all around.
So what are you looking at? Let's just take a second and look forward a little bit. I don't know what the record is on your JV team, but how are you looking at your JV team who's going to be coming into your varsity program next year?
Moving forward for next year, we got this group started the year with 8 seniors, the senior class this year, 8, and we're at 7 currently. And So there will be some spots to fill. The guys who are doing some good things for the JV this year. We mentioned we put Bryson Roberts on there to play, and Anson Cox is a big. He played a couple minutes in the varsity game last night. He played a really nice game Wednesday night or Tuesday night in the JV, and that's another big body that we can put in there. He's probably our tallest at 6'5", which we don't generally get too many of those. So put him in there and did a nice job.
He doesn't have the verticality. He doesn't go up very well.
And that's kind of we've talked about that. Had good conversations, and he works hard. He's in a weight class, and those types of things. As your body grows and you mature and you work, those are things that can be improved. So Quentin Yakub is a junior that has always been kind of one of the smaller kids, but has progressively continued to work, and he's really had a nice.
He's done
JV
very
season.
well out there.
And a handful of other guys that are just they work very hard. They've been around the program. They stick around. So we'll see how it goes. That's right now we're still going to focus and get it. I want them to continue to have a great season together at the JV level for the second half. And as mentioned, I think we're on the right path in the varsity. So. Even though the record might be not what we like to see right now, I think we're going to be improving it steadily. So,
well, we appreciate what you're doing and what you're trying to do, and we thank you for being here and part of our program for our basketball team for 4 years now.
Yeah,
that's almost a record.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll hope to have you back at the end of the season whenever that happens, and kind of recap things and see how they look. In the meantime, we want to thank you for joining us, Lloyd Shoemaker, your host, and Coach Steve Grasso, the head basketball coach for the boys here at Piqua High School. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.